Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at Lesson 4, Shapes and Randomization. It can get a little tricky, but make sure for each one that you're just paying attention to the code, how things are sequenced. That's going to be a huge piece of this. But basically, we're going to be working with layering things and working with random number. All right. So in this first video, I plan to get through task number 6. All right. So in the first task, and I've deleted all of mine so I can go back and do it with you. You can fast forward if you're okay, until part 6 and you just want help on that, you can fast forward to that part. So these blocks have 2 more parameters that we haven't talked about. Remember the first 2 is your X position and your Y position, and then it's going to talk about width and height. So it says, look at the code and try to figure out how the last 2 inputs in the rectangle work. Change the numbers in the second rectangle to make the red rectangle longer than the blue one. So your picture should look like this. If we hit run right now, the red one is shorter. So I'm just going to shorten this a bit. So right now, the colors are fine. All right, but it's this red rectangle that we need to change. Now remember, if you look at the grid, the blue rectangle, the width is 100 and the length or the height is 200. For a red rectangle, the width is 100 and the height is only 150. We want it to be a little longer, so I'm going to say 100, 200, we want it longer, so maybe 250 is what we could change that height to. Nothing else needs to change. Hit reset and run it again, and there you go. Click on that again just to make sure that you have what you need. All right. In task 3, basically we want our picture to look like this. So right now, if we take a look, it looks like that. We're going to need another ellipse behind it. So that means that we're going to need to put it above it in order for that to happen. All right. And I want it to be a different color, so I'm going to also need to bring my fill over, and that needs to be above it. So right now, if I take a look, reset, run. Ooh, okay. Looks like we have some work to do. The green looks okay. First of all, this looks like orange to me instead of yellow. So be careful when you're changing it. You can just type orange in between, but make sure that the quotations stay there. And hit reset and run often to make sure you're doing okay. Now, it looks like the height might be okay. Maybe it can come down a little bit. It looks like it's centered okay, but the sides also need to come in. So remember, this is your width. This is your height. So let's play around with it. So if I change my width, right now it's 400. Why don't we try 300 and see what happens? Reset, run. A little closer, but we could even come in a little more. So maybe I'll try 250. That looks better. Now it's not that tall, so why don't we change that as well? So again, this is your height. And just play around with numbers. Maybe a little taller than that. So maybe 320. Oops. And that's all it is. It's just playing around with things. Okay, just play around with the numbers. Hit reset and run often. All right, part 4. If you're struggling with part 4, it says sometimes you'll want to fill the entire screen with a color. For that, you can use background. So if I hit run right now, the background is yellow. Okay, you can see that right here. Background is yellow. It covers everything on the screen with the color that you choose. It says run the code to see the background work, which we just did. Change the background from yellow to orange. Okay. I'll just reset and run it, make sure. All right. Now it says challenge. There's a purple square that's covered up by the background. You can change the order of the code so you can see both the purple and the blue squares. Right now, there's no purple square here, but if you look in the code, there is a purple square. So what we're going to want to do, or purple rectangle, you have to remember that it's layered. So whatever's in the back goes on the top. So if we want the background in the top, I want to move this purple rectangle somewhere below. And it doesn't matter which one it goes in front of. Now if you reset and run it, there it is. So you have your orange background in the back, and then your blue and your purple rectangles or squares. All right, a couple more here. All right, so background will draw on top of everything already in your drawing, so it's important to think about the order. Again, the background needs to be in the top. Use background to make a black background behind the green circle. Right now we have our green circle. Again, whatever you want in the background needs to go first. It's a layering thing. We want it to be black. Reset, run, good to go, easy. All right, and then the last one for this video. All right, so this program uses the 4-parameter version of a rectangle and an ellipse to create a scene. You're going to be doing this when you create your cards and your games, so it's important that you understand how to create a scene. This is very basic. Debug this program and correct the error so that the grass extends across the entire bottom. So let's see what we're working with. Looks like it falls off the edge. So we want this to expand all the way over. Right now, your rectangle is only a width of, and if we find it down here, it starts at 0, 300, which is right here, and its width is only 200. If you wanted to extend all the way across the screen, you need to make that go all the way, it's 400 would be your width. So I'm just going to change that, check it out. All right, that looks good. Let's see. Hint, you only have to change one number, which parameter makes your rectangle, which is the grass, wider. And notice how they're putting these comments in. Those don't show up in your program, but it might help you to remind you what you're putting in there, especially when you get into the more complicated programs. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video there, and if you need help on any of the other parts, I'll have another video to help you out. You can also stop by the Math Lab with questions. Have a great day.